Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for this webinar organized by ET Retail in association with the Worldline India. I'm Pallavi and I'm a digital content producer at ET Retail. Over the last few years, we have seen the adoption of e-commerce across the retail sector. From established FMCG giants to new age startups, e-commerce has opened avenues of growth for brands. However, with the changing consumer behavior and blurring of lines between offline and online, there has been a significant shift towards omnichannel retail. Today, in this discussion, we'll be decoding on why and how of omnichannel retail, with the focus on how retailers are building connected and personalized experiences through omnichannel. With this backdrop, I'd like to invite our speakers to introduce themselves. We can start with Dharmrajan.
Thanks, Pallavi. Happy to be here, though virtually, and this is, I think, second or third time being invited, and thanks to the team. Happy to share our thoughts, and how we are addressing. A brief about myself: I head beauty business for Tata Click. We recently launched our new app called Tata Click Palette, exclusively focusing on beauty as a category, which we believe has a phenomenal potential in the country in the next 10 to 15 years. And also, it's fairly unique in terms of how the consumer buying journeys are. Having said that, happy to be part of this esteemed panel. Looking forward to our conversation and discussion today.
Wonderful. Happy to have you here. Shankar, if you can go.
Hi, Pallavi. Hello, everyone. My name is Shankar. I am the founder of Plum, a beauty brand, a beauty and personal care brand. We are based out of Bombay. In addition to being an online first brand, we also have our own stores, as well as we retail through leading retailers in the country. We're happy to be sharing thoughts and learning from all of us here on this panel. Thanks for having me.
Sanjay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sanjay and I'm designated as a CDO at Bestseller. Thanks a lot for having me here and looking forward to give my thoughts and exchange knowledge with the esteemed panel out here.
Wonderful. Siddharth.
Hi guys, thanks for having me here. New people meeting. Shankar, I know him well. Great to see Dharma and Sanjay. I'm sure introduction will happen for the rest. Co-founder of Smitten, India's largest discovery trial platform leading to commerce. Yes, we are an online platform trying to follow the path of Plum and team to get into the offline space as well. Eagerly looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you. And Vishal.
Yeah, hi, I'm Vishal Maru. I head the business for Worldline for Asia region. We as a company were into providing the payment platforms to the banks as well as the large corporates. And I'm more than happy to be on this forum, and we'll discuss more about what is that we bring on table when it comes to omnichannel solutions.
Yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining in. Before we get into the details of how retailers are building their omnichannel strategies, I'd like to open the stage with the question to understand why exactly are retailers moving towards omnichannel? What is omnichannel offering more than e-commerce to brands, to consumers? So Dhanrajan, if you can start with that.
Sure. Thanks. An extremely relevant question. So, Pallavi, it is not about brands moving to omni-channel method. It is what the consumer demands. The buying journey today, it's not only digital, only physical. It's an absolute mesh. And if I can sort of elaborate and sort of expand it a little bit more, consumer does the research online, test the product in an offline environment, and then they end up buying online or offline. And this is, we're just talking about only about product. And when you add the content layer to it, and I'm sort of adding content purely because of coming with a beauty background. In the country, beauty consumption is very highly influenced by content play, which is how to use the product, where to use, what works, what doesn't work, what skin type, how do you go through that skin regimen and routine. And all of this requires both content consumption in online world as well as offline. It is just that brands are accommodating and adapting to the requirement of consumers, which is the reason why everyone is moving towards the omni-channel play. Even us as Tata Click, with the latest offering, Tata Click Palette, we are building an omni-channel experience for consumers. And trying to integrate how do you sort of bring both the physical and digital world together is what the holy grail is, and which is what we're trying to solve for. It is more about consumers' need, which is forcing all of us to build that as the most essential way of providing true experience to customers. So it's not a choice. We have to do it, and there is no alternative. And especially for certain categories, it is absolutely mandatory. For example, beauty is a very high training, education-led. Though we may have expanded, some of the online players may have built very large-scaled operations. It still requires a very high training, education, touch and feel, and hence the importance of offline retail store existence. And in these stores, it is not just about placement of products. There would be multiple things. I'll probably share a little bit more as we move along in the conversation. But it is more to cater to consumer need that every brand will start building online plus offline. And along with that, customer also expects us to know that she is the same one who is browsing the app and walking into the store. And that is where the whole omni-channel comes in. It is not disjointed offline stores and online experience. Customer expects you to know that she is the same one who is using so and so products and certain profile she has, what she has created in the online world when she walks into the offline store, and she expects you to know that. And which is what the true omni-channel experience is. Not too many players, at least today, have been able to sort of provide it. Some bit because of advancement in technology, some in terms of how do we design our journeys itself in the offline world. There is a lot of scope there. So omni-channel, if you ask me, it is still very, very early days. We still have only offline stores and online stores, if I may call that. Even though a brand may have both, it is still some time to go. There are a lot of problems to be solved before we reach there.
Wonderful start to the conversation. And you mentioned some very important points there, and we'll be discussing each of them going forward. I'd like to ask from Shankar, from the perspective of a D2C digital first brand, how important is omni-channel today, and what are you seeing in the market?
Totally echo what Dharma just spoke about, and in our category especially, I would say it was a compulsion that people were shopping online for the last couple of years. But the experience that you get when you are shopping in the physical world, and more importantly, if you are able to achieve the sort of the ultimate omni-channel experience of combining online and offline, I think that it's the next frontier. We are not yet there. I totally agree with Dharma. We have offline, we have online. They're not sort of syncing too well with each other. I think, but there is a lot of possibilities there. E.g., you can have people walking in to store and seeing what the simplest of worlds. They can see what all they have shopped or browsed online and continue the browsing in the store. That's the most simplest of integration possible. Even that is some way away for most people, at least for us. I don't know about the others. So therefore, in beauty, there are endless possibilities. What we have seen happen over the last 7, 8 years, 10 years is content taking off vertically in terms of both creators as well as the whole ecosystem, in terms of bandwidth being available on people's phones. Camera quality is going up, so you don't need like a shooting setup to create content. People are just shooting with their phones and going live. So there is a lot of technology enablement that has happened. There's a lot of creator creation that has happened. And also people have shown the propensity to consume content. So what online has done is therefore brought a lot of content to people's fingertips quite literally. What we need to do is really to now the next stage, I think, and people also shopping using that access to those contents. What we need to do is when we talk of in the omni-channel context, is to integrate what we have, the good things that online has made happen with the good things that offline has always had, and try and give the V3 of the retail experience to the customer. V1 was offline, V2 is online. V3 is going to be very interesting. I think more interesting than either of the above. So we are just getting started, I would say, in short.
Great insight there, Shankar. I like to understand from Sanjay, yours is a traditionally offline business. How have you charted your omni-channel journey in the country, and what have been the key challenges and learnings you've seen?
So traditionally, yes, if you talk about fashion retail, right? Traditionally, it was more of a brick and mortar, and revenues being driven by the store sales. I think fortunately, we started our digital journey a couple of years back, and COVID just accelerated everything. Right. So I think it was a boon for us that by the time COVID hit us, we already had our D2C site. We were already selling on the likes of Myntra, Flipkart, Ajio. What has happened during the COVID that we had a very compartmentalized, let's say the store sales and then the online sales. And when I'm talking what Dharma was talking and what Shankar was talking, that two isolated channels. So you have online, then you have a complete offline. And Dharma also mentioned about the journey, right? What consumer is having. It is no longer a linear journey. What used to happen, that linear journey, you are doing the discovery in the store, you are evaluating, and then you are buying in the store. What has happened over last couple of years, that the journeys are, completely circular, right? The customer may discover in a store, end up buying online. Discovery may start at, let's say, on D2C site, and then the customer may end up going to the store and buying it. So it is all, jointed, or the circular journey, basically, which transcended from the linear one. So during the COVID, I think we felt the need that we cannot have a segregated channel for online and offline. Somewhere we have to bring it together, and then that's where the true omni-channel experience would come out. We had a very isolated inventory channels for, let's say, online D2C, online Myntra, online Flipkart. We clubbed everything. I think as a step one, first of all, we consolidated our complete online inventory into one, and we publish the same inventory on 5 channels. So you can understand inventory utilization went up by 5 times because the same piece of shirt is available at 5 channels. So the possibility of it getting sold is increasing. Then as a step two, I know we have around 300 odd EBOs which we operate across India. And we have close to 1 million, let's say, inventory, which is available across the store. We, as a step two, we got that inventory also together. So consolidated our warehouse inventory, consolidated store inventory, and we went from a stand that inventory needs to be democratized, right? So it has to be completely democratic. Whoever comes first, right? Whether it is a store, whether it is online, D2C, wherever the demand is there, inventory should get sold, irrespective of the fact that wherever it is lying. Earlier, it was there in one store, then it was a prerogative of that store to sell that piece of merchandise. Now, the piece may lie anywhere, but then whoever has the selling potential, that channel will sell. So I think we took drastic steps, and fortunately, those tools and technologies, they were readily available. So when we speak today, more or less, we are there as far as the inventory is concerned. Then we are truly omni-channel. You can be in our store, and if you don't get that style, if you don't get that size, the store manager can help you to order it from other store or from the warehouse. At the same time, when you're online, not that it is going to be fulfilled by warehouse. If the same piece is available nearest to, let's say, your location, then probably you will get the fulfillment from the nearest store. So that way, I think we have gone, you know, we have gone beyond and reached to that stage. And still, there are advanced journeys like, uh, buy online, return in a store, buy online, and then pick up at a store, buy at online, then curbside pickup. I think all those advanced journeys we are working. And once we have those advanced journey, BOPIS, BORIS, and next set of let's say advancement which is happening on omni-channel, I think that would be very interesting to see how it will impact our revenues and profitability. But I think omni-channel is here to stay, right? Because customer demand has been that he has to be served wherever it is. In addition to omni-channel, I think the other set of interesting platforms which is opening, social commerce, commerce through WhatsApp, commerce through Insta, commerce through Facebook. I think that would also be an interesting space to watch out in the times to come.
Great insights there, Sanjay. Dharmarajan, I'd like to ask from you. Sanjay mentioned some of the key factors or key aspects that constitute an omni-channel strategy. There's integration of multiple channels. There's integration of your omni-channel inventory. What would you like to add to this list of components when a retailer is building their their omni-channel strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So in fact, the whole omni-channel journey started predominantly the way Sanjay is sort of calling out. It is around the fulfillment area, which is about how do you provide integrated view on inventory, integrated view of selection and order in store, selection expansion, endless site. All of this was focused on any location the customer comes in, whether it is online or offline. How do you provide visibility to 100% of all the stock and inventory available for consumers, which is the start of what we have done on the retail side on omni-channel. And that's the journey. It has to sort of evolve into the experience for consumers, which is knowing the customer end to end. And this is like my favorite example is a 20-year-old movie which came in 2002 called Minority Report. And this is where Tom Cruise enter into the store just after a replacement of an eyeball, and looking at the retina, the store has a retina recognizer and it knows who that customer is, who's walking into that store, and changes the entire offering to the customer basis that. If you ask me, and that's how the journey will evolve. Some of the players have already done, like Amazon has done with Amazon Go. Not exactly retina identifier, but some of the technology that they use is your moving vision and the routers, etc., to identify who the customer is. And then you do a seamless transfer from online to offline. You have the visibility to what the customer has browsed, what product she's already bought when she walks into the store, and then take the journey forward from there. It is so that whole bit is how we see it is first is on the backend side, getting all the operational element, inventory, selection, visibility on par with both offline and online. That was one of the challenges that had, and it's an easier problem to solve. Next will happen on identifying customer at the retail outlet. So that advantages that you have today on the digital world, some of those today do not exist in the offline world. Either there is a problem related to the availability of technology or use of technology. For example, if you ask me, I don't think too many retailers today can accurately say what is their walk-in count numbers. You don't know exactly. Even in today's day and age, most of the walk-ins are still sort of calculated based on clickers. So you would see this watchman standing outside the door, will have a clicker in his hand, and as and when somebody walks in. And if you ask them what is the gender mix, the same watchman will have two clickers, one for male and one for female. And that's how the current offline world, some of the camera-based recognition, etc., is still sort of, it's not very mature, is the reason why not all the brands have implemented. Some of them are still in the very early days of implementation. It is purely run as a multi-channel operations and not truly as an omni-channel one. But all of us recognize the importance of it. For example, when we started our journey, we believe that truly omni-channel is the way forward, and we classify Tata Click as a platform which will provide omni-channel experience. Today, we are connected with more than 6,000 stores across the country of various brands, along with brands' warehouses as well, not just their stores. And we believe that's the best way to provide the widest of selection the brands have, give them the true visibility of inventory. But this is just the start. There is so much more to do in this space, and the integration on understanding who the customer is, irrespective of what channel she comes in from, is the next frontier. So that's where we are headed towards in solving this problem. With our beauty stores, we are attempting some of the new ways of working on this. Just to give you a sort of a comparison between how some of the journeys are built in the online vis-a-vis offline. I don't know whether offline stores today do this. When you build a new feature or a platform on the online world, we do a very detailed user research, and we do a user experience and user interface study. And once you sort of design on how this journey is undertaken, then you do a small research lab testing with a few customers, and then convert that into a user interface, and then it is made live for consumers, and you continuously learn from it. I don't know whether we do the same for the offline stores. Predominantly, it is designed around certain personas that we believe are the ones who walk into the stores, and we put in a lot of effort around merchandising. I'm not sure that we put enough effort around the user journeys in the offline world. And this we are trying to attempt to reverse some of the questions the cashier asks or the person at the till around who the customer is, what is your number, is there some way to identify her? We do it little late in the day in the offline journey. We are trying to reverse to try and bring in true omni-channel capability in the offline world. We'll wait and watch how it works out. That's our thought.
Wonderful. Great insights. Siddharth, basis what Dhanrajan shared, there's a key thread that, we have established till now is that through omni-channel, retailers are building a connected experience for the consumer, and personalization, not in terms of just the product, but for the entire shopping journey. From the perspective of Smitten, where you have taken the entire trial system, trial experience digital, how would what do you say how retailers are building this connected experience, and what are the key things to look out in this aspect?
Sure, Pallavi. First of all, congratulations, Dharma, for the launch of Palette. Shankar doing great in offline already. I know that. Sanjay, great to know the way you guys are building it up. I think a lot to learn from where you are. Vishal, I've yet to hear from you, so I'll say that later for you later. And for us, see, as we have to be aware where the brands are. If Plum is somewhere, and if as you know by now, Smitten is all about the pre-purchase side of it. And so while Dharma said about you have to be where consumer is, for us it is two things: where brands are and where consumers are. Both the things hold true for us in the entire journey of offline retail. And the reason why I believe offline is or omnichannel. See, omnichannel is not new. 2006, I remember I was working for a project for Food Bazaar, and they were looking at offline at that point of time and online as well. So it's not something new, but yeah, it has picked up scale because of all the infrastructure that's been built around, and the current consumer who has a lot of access to the digital space and also want to walk into the store. So the reason why literally all of us in this call as well are getting into the offline bit of it along with the online, I believe there are three main reasons of it. Number one is the big burner, which is the CAC side of it. And all of us are targeting the same customer, Pallavi, all literally five of us probably targeting, or four or not five, to target Pallavi and making Facebook richer on it. And that is, if you think of it, a bit stupid. So the first is to reduce the CAC, and to reduce the CAC, you have to get into the offline. You have to be in different avenues where you can have the consumer information side of it. And that's what I probably Dharma was talking about along with Shankar as well. So that is the first side. Second is to increase revenues. Wherever consumers are, we have to be there, all of us, to increase the top line of the business. And this definitely helps in doing it. And third, probably we haven't spoken much about it so far, is the reason why all of us went to online first, and especially in case of Smitten, because we wanted to create that offline experience in online by giving trials to the consumers. It is about how fast do we learn about the consumer. And in our case, how do I go back and tell the brand that this is what is working and this is what is not working for you, according to what we are seeing on the platform, so that everything that they want to do at the back end change from an R&D perspective or marketing angle of it, they can actually execute it fast. So that is where the offline will also help significantly to the brand, especially in the brand alone, where the brand stores are there. The way offline is working, and that's where I understand so far, having worked in Unilever for 10 years and largely in the offline space, when you have a standalone store or brand store, that is not where you make money. That is more required just to show your presence, and important part is to learn about the consumer. That is where it has to be seen. It is literally a laboratory, to say so, where you're learning everything about consumers in an offline world, and then goes on to your modern trade side of it, where in modern trade, your presence is required. But once you're done with the standalone stores or brand stores, and then modern trade, and then comes into your general stores, and that gives you the entire width or the penetration into the market. And that's probably everybody starts making money on it. The challenge here would be what you were asking earlier as well, was how do we integrate these things and give the consumer the right experience on it? I think in standalone store, that's the easiest thing to do. Modern trade becomes slightly difficult because you have multiple brands out there. The biggest challenge is the general trade side of it, because that's where you're furthest away from the consumer. At times, you don't even know where your product is sitting, unlike the first two things on it. So while I strongly believe that in the last 4 or 5 years, e-commerce has come a long way, online business has come a long way, from e-commerce site to an app, to a lighter version of app, to multiple UIs, to from 4 campaigns a year max, to probably Dharma and I running almost 4 campaigns a month right now to attract the eyeballs of the consumers on it. And then comes the delivery side of it, from 5-day delivery to 3-day to 1 day to 20 minutes delivery. A lot of development has happened in that space of it. Next phase is the offline part. I think you will see a hell lot of things happening in the offline as far as the innovation is concerned, wherein it is not just about integrating the offline and online, knowing the consumer. It will literally be giving the same experience of online to an offline, and learning everything out from the consumer as you intend to do from the online space. The only thing which has to change, according to me, is one is the capability, which I think is lacking to give the right experience in the offline space. That's one. And second is the entire tech part of it, which I think all of you spoke already, and hence won't elaborate that further. So that's largely where Smitten will play a significant role in ensuring that we continue to offer a pre-purchase experience as you're doing in the online space, do the same thing in offline, and integrate the two things so that we can provide it all information back to the brands, which can help them to grow further.
Wonderful, wonderful, Siddharth. You very rightly highlighted the challenges in this integration between online and offline. Vishal, I'd like to ask you here, in this integration of offline and online, payments become all the more complex because there are multiple permutation and combination of how a consumer can pay. So what would you say on how important is ensuring a seamless payment experience in an omni-channel setting, and how are retailers achieving that?
So thanks, Pallavi. And first of all, thank you very much, because I hear very diverse views from each one of us. And but one thing which is very common is that everybody wants to walk the path of omnichannel. So I think that's great. And from our side, and from my point of view, in simple words, omnichannel is more like a connected experience for a customer. The omnichannel promise typically would mean unified, seamless, and more importantly, a very relevant customer experience. So that's the omnichannel promise all about. While it is pretty simple to talk about it, and it looks very simple, but I think the most important part is how to deliver it. And I think that's been the most tricky part and the toughest part. If you look at all the organizations across, many organizations would have a lot of data available. But now, how do you translate this data into a real customer experience is the most difficult part. And that's where one of the important elements which we believe is that if you actually introduce a payment platform as an omni-channel payment platform, I think that's where you actually get the data. You are able to understand the customer well. You look at all the several channels where he has operated on. look at his transaction history, and then you can actually give a very unified view, a very simple view, where you really profile a particular customer. Now, if you take example of IKEA or any other example of a D2C brand, which is also into omnichannel. Once, if I buy a sofa set in the online, and possibly is that when I go to a in-store experience for IKEA, they would still present to me all the offers, which is very relevant to the earlier shopping experience. And the trend possibly would come from the fact that the payment channels I have used, whether it is on the online or whether it is on the offline. Also, we have to understand that now payment is one of the most important element which actually decides the consumer behavior. So even if you look at the loyalty which a consumer would actually have with a particular brand or a company, that comes from the fact that how seamlessly we give a user experience, how well we understand the customer, how well we know the customer behavior, and whether we are able to forecast the trend of his behavior. And I think that is where the whole insight will come from his shopping experience, as well as where he uses, what he uses, which payment option he uses. And that's where this whole omni-channel payment platform becomes very relevant in what all has been said by all the retailers. I think there are three very important points from our standpoint. One is very clearly, how do you integrate the data? How do you unify the data? Second is, how do you do the data analytics, and how do you actually present something which is a single view, which is a view which actually gives a complete picture about a customer profile? And how do you, in a sense, how do you analyze the data in a much more understandable format? And third is the beyond payment approach. A beyond payment approach is more to do with the integrations with the with various channels like Facebook, your WhatsApp e-commerce, live streaming payment platforms, and also with the platforms like ERPs, your inventory management system. So I think that's something which is pretty important. So one is your data integration, data unification. Second is the whole assessment of the data, analytics of the data, and third is looking at a beyond approach. And at Worldline, that's exactly what we have done. Being a processor, we have access to the in-store as well as the online processing data. And what we have done is that we are introducing our omnichannel orchestration layer, which connects with all the possible payment options and which will actually give a very unified, very seamless, very comprehensive view to a merchant. And that is something which you can use to really change the whole way as consumers would offer.
Wonderful insight there, Vishal. And you very rightly mentioned the use of data and its growing importance. Shankar, I'd like to ask from you here, from moving from D2C to omni-channel, you're expanding offline very aggressively. How are you using this data to build a connected experience for your customers, and how crucially does a smooth payment experience sits at the center of this entire experience?
So let's talk about online first and then move to the offline side. I think online, there are innovations which have come up now which allow for single-click checkouts. If you're using UPI and link everything to mobile number and so on, we have found that they really reduce the friction in terms of the customer entering payment information. But having said so, one or the other regulation changes every few months, and then one more hurdle is set up where people have to tokenize and this and that. So it's always a game of cat and mouse between ease and security. So online, we are, I think, somewhere at a place where I think for most retailers, between 60 to 70% is prepaid, and about 30 to 40%, depending on industry, is COD. COD refuses to steadfastly go away, no matter how easy UPI becomes. So that's a mystery for a later day to solve. Now coming to omnichannel, and the two aspects that you mentioned, both data and payments. Again, I have seen early innovations targeting app-based checkout in stores, but then that presupposes a lot of things, that the customer has your app, that the network is working in your store, the customer is not scared of entering payment information in a public place and so on and so forth, or simply just wants a zip in, zip out convenience, and therefore does not mind the additional effort of doing all of this. So what it helps the retailer to have the customer use your app to check out, because you are not losing the data at the point of sale. But the question is, the thing to solve for here is what is in it for the customer. Maybe immediate thing that comes to mind is offer an additional discount if you use the brand app in the store. But those have got to be your own stores. And for a brand like us, EBOs is not our exclusive outlets, is not our biggest channel. It could be probably more relevant to Sanjay and to Dharma perhaps than to me on this panel. As far as data goes, I think this is a very, very big gap especially for brands like us who are not, that invested in technology. We are consumers of technology. We are not creators of technology as brand. We are creators of, we create something else. We create skincare products. So technology is not is not the primary thing we build. We use technology as an enabler to make our transactions better or more customer centric. So it's a long, long way away for us to be able to stand up and say, you know what, we have got the integration right between, or even any form of it going between online and the stores that we are building. We are waiting for the larger guys to show us the way here, to be honest.
Wonderful, great. On this note, Sanjay, I'd like to ask you if you have any experience, any example you'd like to share where you have used data to create a connected, personalized experience. If it has worked, it has not worked. What have been the learnings on that front?
What we say is the data is the new oil, right? And when we say this, I think it has a lot of meaning to it. The richer the data what you have about the customer, I think the better experience you can create by using the data in the right way. And when we have been talking about omnichannel, when we have been talking about multi-channel, or for that matter, social commerce, or for that matter, brick and mortar commerce as well, right? The demand of our hour is, how to personalize the whole experience. And if you don't have the insight about your customer, it is very, very difficult. You play the game where personalization is going to be the key factor. If you can, wow a customer, I think Shankar was giving the example, I guess, where with the retina, or Dharma was giving the example. Sorry, that with your retina, probably you should be able to recognize the customer and offer him what he likes. I was reading about Style Lumia, I guess, or there is a brand, if I'm not able to recall. They create the experience by making you sit, and they'll give you a headset, and basis your mind signals, they will show you the t-shirts, right? And basis your reaction. I mean, it is like integrating digital with the neuroscience. How your brain reacts after seeing a color, let's say blue, red, and all that. Basis that, they will create a recommendation engine, and by and large, it is working. So what you need is the data, and we are working towards how to, let's say, Pallavi, if you get it into our store, I think very basic thing. If we have some data about you, and if my store manager or the functional consultant can address you with your name, and basis what you have bought last time, or basis the history of your purchase, if something relevant can be shown to you, I think that will floor you. Online part, yes, we have been able to achieve, let's say, part of it, looking at your history of purchase. I know there is a certain recommendation which comes up, and that is like blend of what is there as part of, let's say, the new season plus what your purchase history is, and basis that there is a recommendation which we can offer. But when we talk about omni experience, we should be able to provide the similar experience while you are being on the store. So I will say that it is work in process, but the idea would be that we should have the complete 360-degree view of our customer, and when it is clubbed with, let's say, a mobile app, where we are having a look at, I know, the complete transaction. We are having a look at basically you as a Pallavi who has entered into the store. And that acknowledgement can happen through a QR code or any other device, so that we know our customer better, and this is that we should be able to offer. So the data is there. The uses of data to the right, let's say, use case, it is still work in process, but that is something which we would need to achieve, and it may not be the must now, but I think as omni-channel is becoming the need of an hour, or the data, and then how to use the data to give a very, very personal experience to the customer will become a need of our in times to come.
Great, Sanjay. Yeah, basis, what you shared and what other speakers have also shared, in building a connected and personalized experience in the applications of data, one key thing sits at the center of it, and that's having an uninterrupted supply chain and uninterrupted inventory. So, Dharmrajan, I'd like to understand from you here, how are you achieving this operational efficiency to ensure that your products are delivered to your customers at the fastest, especially when this quick commerce 10-minute delivery fad is catching up so fast?
So it's an important question, and it varies from sort of category to category, product to product, brand to brand. And there are different thresholds already incumbents in the industry have already set, which means consumer expect certain reliability in your delivery experience. Even today, when we do our NPS survey, though we have moved to something far more input-oriented than NPS, the predominant factor which determines e-commerce experience is still delivery. Delivery has a very, very high weightage attached to it. So how we look at the whole delivery experiences, we break it into 3-4 different parts. It's not sort of one thing. First and foremost is the promise that you share with the customer at the time when she sees the product, when she is on the product description page. And this also has evolved over a period of time. When this e-commerce as a business in the country started, people used to promise ranges that it will be delivered in 4 to 7 days, 5 to 8 days, depending on, not even depending on, it used to be flat for the entire country. There are platforms which still does it. Independent of wherever you are, you get to see that window of delivery promise. From there, it moved to geo-aware promises, which means if you are sort of surfing from Mumbai, you will see a different promise vis-a-vis somebody from Delhi or any other part of the country. And even then, you were still giving ranges. And then from removing that range to a probabilistic date, which is all of this require a very, very large amount of data science and understanding the performance, different lane performance, and it becomes highly complex for a player like us who ship not only from our warehouse, also from multiple brand connected stores, which essentially means you may have a different first mile, middle mile, and last mile partner. So you have to be aware of their performance. How do they do pick up from, say, the store is, if the store is located in, say, Sonipat, product needs to be delivered in Guwahati, it has to be broken down into multiple parts. So the promise plays a very, very important role. And then there are multiple algos that we have used, which takes into consideration your recent most performance, giving it a higher weightage with respect to the performance that was 3-week-old, 4-week-old, etc. Taking all of that into consideration, we promise. And this is the first level. Second is how are you continuously aware of what is the promise that you shared and the progress that you're making, which means when the product gets shipped out, when it is ready to be shipped and it is to be shipped out, we further fine-tune the promise. Now I am far more sure of what is the exact date and time when this product will get delivered. So then we modify that, which is the next leg of the delivery experience. And in this process, making it available for consumer to get to know where the product is, whether it is moved step 1, step 2, and how granularly you show the order status on their My Account profile also determines the whole delivery experience. Then this can be done through various ways. We being digital first technology organization. For us, it's like bread and butter. We go like really, really deep into every single aspect of how do you showcase this to consumer, which is meaningful for them. At the same time, you don't over invest on any part or any leg of this entire process. Then comes the last mile, which is the most critical moment of truth when the actual delivery of the product happens. Here again, it's like pre-intimating customer that you can expect the shipment the same day at some point in time. It is better if you can sort of call out what time to what time window, and then providing multiple options for payment if it is not already prepaid, card on delivery, UPI on delivery, letting the consumer know that you have all those options along with cash on delivery. And once the delivery happens, then there are like, again, it's not just then the whole packaging experience that comes into the picture. We have sort of differentiated ourselves on the packaging experience, especially for Tata Click Luxury. It's an absolute standout. We have heard numerous consumers specifically calling out the packaging experience as one of the key differentiators, and they relate to it really, really well. And then the core of the whole experience, which is the product experience. When the customer opens the box and she sees what is the product, whether it is the one that she ordered or is it something else, whether it is right size, right shape, in right condition. All of this is what the whole delivery experience. And for us, we invest in various stages from promise to options for payment and acceptance, and the visibility to when and how the delivery is going to happen. And in each stage, there are like a lot of signs that is used for us to predict for delivery. For example, it might sound very simple, like Sanjay touched upon that topic. Inventory aware is not an easy problem, especially when you're running an omni-channel operations, where a store inventory, you need to have a real-time feed, something which was available 15 minutes back. A customer could have sort of taken that product out. How do you be aware on a real-time basis? Second is, in a platform like, especially on the online world, not all platforms today are capacity aware. You can't allocate more than X number of orders to a particular store. This happens especially during end of season sale time or any of those spike events when you have your store also trying to fulfill. And we have faced this problem. All of this is learning from running an omni-channel platform. Suddenly, end of season sale happened. We have some of our really marquee stores. One of them is in Old Navy in South Bombay. The order allocated was almost like 2,500 orders got allocated within 6 hours. The capacity to pick, pack, package, etc. doesn't exist. So you need to build ability to be capacity aware. Once you're capacity aware, you take that into consideration for promise also. So moment the capacity is over for that store, then we start promising customer 1 day extra. All of this goes into experience that the consumer get on the end-to-end, if you want to sort of call it as delivery experience. That's how we sort of solve for it.
Wonderful. Beautifully explained there, Rajan.
Just to add to what Dharma was saying, it is not just about the delivery, Dharma, it is also about the return experience after that. We'll talk about that later, right? That's another nightmare of things to manage and have a tech.
Yeah. Very, very different. And what we do is we have something called as perfect order as a measure. Yes. We break down the entire delivery experience into smaller parts. What it essentially tells us, out of 100 items that customer ordered, how many I eventually shipped where customer did not cancel after placing the order. I shipped on time. I delivered on time. I delivered as per the promised date that I did, not earlier, not later. And in that entire process, customer did not have the need to call up the call center to know where the product is. Right. And customer did not return the product, which essentially constitute the perfect order. Yes. And we try and optimize. And also what it does is every single function in the organization has a large role to play. Very different from NPS, where customer gives a response to a certain percentage of total queries. So best of organization don't get more than 7 to 10% responses. So and also it's a lag metric. This is a purely lead metric. Everybody gets involved, and we know that if it's a perfect order, the correlation with NPS is extremely high, and that's how we do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Siddharth, I was actually coming to you if you can share your thoughts on this, and also how do you think having an omni-channel presence impact your logistic cost?
Good question. So logistics cost is one of the another big burner sitting with all of us. Yes, logistics as an entire space and with so many players coming in the market, the overall cost ideally should go down, but they build in so many internal things to confuse us as people who are actually taking the service and keep taking the cost up. So as far as the only online part is concerned, it is definitely a significant portion of the cost depending on what the overall order value is. But when you come to offline side of it, actually helps you to compensate for your online cost. Because in the case of online, you're servicing every order, very basic thing I'm talking about here. So every order, everything has to be there, right? It is not just the logistics cost. It is right from storage cost to packing cost, packaging cost. Both of them are separate things, all the way to delivery and the return cost. A portion of return also has to be built into it. And then comes what Vishal and team will be charging is the payment gateway charges and stuff. So all of that is the total operations cost of it. And so that is one which is significantly higher. But what offline will help all of us is to reduce all of that part of it. And any business currently operating in both online and offline and contributing 50%, assuming a scenario, you're literally saying the cost could be closer to 60-70% of what the current cost is. So that is the way it has to build, subject to you're building the supply chain efficient to the last core, which means ensuring its availability is there and from where it is getting dispatched is also the right location. And that becomes very, very important out here. I know we're running short of time, so I'm just cutting it out here. Pallavi, over to you.
Great insight there, Siddharth. And since Sanjay has a hard stop, Sanjay, if we can get a quick closing comment from you.
We have deliberated enough, and I think more or less it is coming as a consensus that omni-channel is the need of an hour, and the way the customer expectation has changed. We'll have to be there everywhere. Customer is looking for, right? We have been talking about e-commerce now. Now the full form of e-commerce is changing to everywhere commerce, right? So wherever the customer is, we have to be present. And to enable that experience, we have to enable all the nitty-gritties, maybe technical, maybe logistics, maybe operation-wise. Everything has to be tied together so that the true omni-channel platform gets built up. And on this platform, talk about social commerce, everywhere commerce, everything will, be keyed into it. So it's the need of an hour. And I think, as everybody spoke on the panel, we are on the journey. Somebody is, let's say, approaching, somebody has reached, somebody has to enable those, advanced experiences. So I think we have to work together and we have to learn from each other so that, we can offer the best to the customer in the Omni world.
So before we move to closing comments, I just have one last question for Vishal here. Vishal, Dharma and Siddharth, in detail talked about the delivery experience. And again, a key part of it is the payment part. When a product is delivered, a lot of consumers opt for cash on delivery. But when a product arrives, I as a consumer sometimes pay it in cash, sometimes a UPI, sometimes I'm, paying it via my card. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? And what are some interesting insights or consumer behavior, trends you've observed there?
So first of all, I'm very glad that you said that the payment is a very important element. And that's the business we are into, solving a payments problem. So, when we actually look at the offline and online as what, couple of you mentioned, that if you are able to bring in a better payment processes in place, which also reduce a lot of the inefficiency, both on the operation side as well as on the cost side. So just to give you an example, today, if there are, so you rightly said that you sometimes use cash, UPI, cards, and if sometimes you have to return or refund your product, then the most easiest part is to do a refund through the card rails. And I think those mechanisms which comes in place, whether it is for the offline or online, and where you use the payment rails, that actually gives a very different experience to the customer. Also, it is important if you understand from a customer standpoint that when he actually goes to the in-store shopping or to the online, with all the buying experience, all the buying journey, one important element they would always want to look at is how's the whole payment experience. And there are a lot of efforts, investments, research which is going on to reduce the complete time and the time for the whole transaction processing, and which is also going to extend that we are talking about invisible payments. So that's the innovation which is happening on the payment side, and more because we totally understand that once the entire journey is over in terms of identifying a product, in terms of buying, in terms of negotiating, then the final stage where he really wants to go back happily is the one where he actually taps the card or once he actually clicks the button. So I think very clearly that's where we are investing our whole effort, and we have come up with this orchestration layer which I spoke about, which very clearly gives a very different experience to the merchant, because then he has got various payment options, and all those payment options can be viewed simply with one single profile. And at the same time, he can translate all this data which he collects to various modes. So let's say today, if there is somebody who's on the offline in the shop, he might use the POS machine. For a delivery, he might use the soft POS. For a consumer to do the transaction, they might use the payment gateway. So all those touch points, data is collected, given it in a format which can be analyzed, understandable, and then translated into a better customer experience. So I think that way the payment definitely plays a very important role.
Wonderful. Wonderfully put, Vishal. So thank you so much, everyone, for these wonderful insights. I'd like to get closing comments from you all. And at the same time, I'd like to, put one last question forward. What is that one trend or segment you believe that is going to set the future of omnichannel retail in India? Shankar, if you can start with that.
I think to me, it's data and insight, what is going to define the future of omnichannel in India.
Great, wonderful. Siddharth?
In addition to what Shankar said, customer experience is going to be the one which is going to lead this further.
Okay, great. Dharmarajan?
So data insight, experience, and also we believe content is going to play a very, very large role. Content will also determine the whole omnichannel experience, whether it's online or offline, where consumers get to learn, know more about the brand, know more about the products, and know more how to use when to use them.
Great. Vishal, your thoughts?
Very obvious thought. So it's going to be the payment experience. It's going to make a difference.
Yes.
Vishal, so if you ask us when we do some of the consumer journeys, right? Even Shankar touched upon, it's a one-touch experience. Ideally, for payment, it is best when we don't know that the payment is happening. Which means essentially when you don't experience payment at all, whether it is online world or offline world, is the best experience. Is to take that whole experience of payment out. In the offline world, you have to stand in queue and then you have to sort of go through. It's not a pleasure in retail. The whole experience and how we are also thinking about payment is how do you take the payment experience out of retail so that customer doesn't even feel that there is a payment that is happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's exactly why I said the invisible payment, something which is coming up. A lot of research is happening, a lot of investment is happening. And I think that's the way forward. So, because even we as a consumer, the last thing what we do before we're checking out or before we're moving out of the store is the payment. And if somebody has to stand for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes, the whole experience which you actually invested into for a customer buying experience is gone away. I think that's the reason why payment really becomes a very important element. And even if there is a refund, so if you actually refund a product and your refund doesn't come in 2 or 3 days time as promised, I think so that makes you a little jittery. So all this processes has to be set right, and I think that's why. And we come from a very strong payment background, payment experience, and that's why we always believe, and we work very closely with retailers like you, and the kind of feedback which you always get, and as you rightly said, there should be something which is beyond the visible and the tangible payment instruments. And very, very, very soon, I think we'll be able to see something on that.
Thank you, speakers, for joining in today. It was a very insightful discussion. I'd also like to thank ET Retail and Worldline Rice for organizing this. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Pallavi. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.